Sisters, let's talk.
That was awesome.
And we're super excited that you ladies are joining us today. We are super, super excited. And my name is Lisa. I am a pastor, and I live here in the Metro Atlanta area, and I am the host of Sister Talks, and I'm going to turn it over to my daughter, Alexis.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Alexis. I'm also co-hosting with Lisa, my mother. We're coming here together to bring you guys an awesome episode. Mom, you want to go ahead and introduce the episode?
Yes. We want to welcome Yami in the house, and we want to welcome Tasha and Mulu. Yes, lady, we celebrate you as we celebrate women, because that's the foundation of Sister Talks. It's all about celebrating our sisters, okay? So even in our celebration, we're going to be talking about some heavy topics. And so the topic that we're going to be talking about today, the conversation that we're going to be having today, ladies, is the topic of forgiveness. I know when we think about that word forgiveness, it kind of makes us kind of retract, and we'll kind of be like, okay, do we really got to talk about this? But we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about where we were, where we are, and if we've arrived, if we haven't arrived, if we're still taking steps toward forgiveness, it's okay, because all of us are on a journey. But I'm so thankful that all of our relationships and all of our lives has come together to this place right now, and recognizing that we're going to be reaching other women that are working through the issues of forgiveness as well. Okay. And so we're going to start the conversation off, and we're going to talk about each of you ladies' experience with reconciling yourself to forgiveness. And so Yami, talk to us, sweetie, about how forgiveness or unforgiveness has affected your life, and what are you going to be sharing with us today?
I learned at an early age that not fully forgiving is more weight on you than anyone else. And it kind of numbed in a sense. It kind of numbed in a sense for a really long time, because of the fact that I had to learn how to deal with that, and I had to learn how to process that. Mm-hmm. So that was overall what I like, my experience with it. And it took me some time. It was more so of a on and off again type of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of situation with forgiveness. And
so what is that polarizing situation, Yami, that when you think about the topic of forgiveness and how it has pierced your heart, like what is that thing that comes right to your mind when you think about forgiveness? What is that experience?
Well, for me, it was the murder of my father, and everything that surrounded that was really heavy for me. Mm-hmm. The death wasn't the event by itself. It was everything that happened after. Mm-hmm. And all the way I was treated by everyone after that, and the way that everybody kind of left me to just deal with it by myself, and all of those emotions that went into working through that.
Mm. Yeah. So when you say how you were treated, like what does that mean? Like from your family, from friends?
Yeah. Yeah, like everybody just wanted stuff from me. Nobody cared about me. Everybody just wanted something from me. Everybody expected me to have gotten this big check or something. And everybody just expected me to like have something to give. And I really lost everything. So in the process of everybody just fending for themselves, thinking about themselves, I was just a kid, and everybody was it was just a lot. And
what happened? Like what happened to him, if you don't mind us asking? Hear the story?
Well, the story comes down to my father's best friend set him up to be murdered, and he died. And the way the setup was set was for him. They murdered him on his way leaving a funeral that they knew that he would attend, and they cut him off at a four-way stop and shot him in the car. So,
wow.
So it was like more so like it was just a lot. It was like a lot for me to deal with at the time, and it was a whole bunch of people asking me questions. It was on the front of the newspaper in my city where I'm from, and the city where it occurred, which was Cali, Colombia, where he's from, and it was two different stories. there was one paper that spoke very badly about my father and said all these horrible things about him and me. And I didn't even know these people. So I'm over here reading about myself in the paper, like, what? And there was like this whole other story in Panama. And it was so many levels. Like, and it just felt like too much for me to deal with. So I just chose not to. At 16, so I just was like, okay, I'm good. I didn't cry. I didn't really deal with it. I felt like I only cried because my sister cried. And that's why I cried. But like for me, it was more so like, let me just move past this as fast as possible. So like the minute I could, I went back to school. The minute I could, I got back into everything that I was doing. And I just dealt with it that way. I felt like the moment when it was forced upon me to actually deal with it was when they found his murder. It was the person that set him up. And I obviously thought that I was gonna be able to, like, I should be able, like, your kid should have to bear you. Like, what you mean? Like, like, it's not fair. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I thought about it. But my mom worked really hard to keep me out of a certain lifestyle and keep me away from certain things. And it forced me to have, and me being young, it forced me to have to, like, let it go in a sense, even though it wasn't my choice and it wasn't my choice. Like, it wasn't what I wanted at the time at all.
Wow. And how did your mother, what role did she play in that? Did she help you walk through that, or was she struggling with her own issues with regards to that murder?
I feel like after my father's death was the first time I ever heard my mom talk nicely about him.
Oh, wow.
It was like the first time that I ever heard her like really talk about good times that they had, because the whole time, like my entire childhood, their relationship was like non-existent. Absolutely non-existent. Like it was very much a co-parenting strict relationship. Like, hey, this is what she needs. Hey, this is what, like, it was just very transactional. They didn't really do any. They really didn't intermingle in any capacity. And so, like, when after that, my mom basically, I don't know, she did what she could, I guess, in her own way, because she's not the most emotional or like emotionally supportive parent in the world. So she, in a way, just left me alone, and that was enough for me. Like I felt like that's really what I wanted. I wanted people to leave me alone. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want nobody asking me any questions. I didn't want anybody asking me for money. I didn't want anybody asking me for anything. I wanted to be left alone, and she gave me space to be alone and, I guess, process it in my own way. Yeah.
So, did they find the person that murdered your father? Did they catch him?
I mean, not the police, like my uncles found him, but like they let him go. My mom told them to let him go, and that was a big deal. That pissed me off. That was the most anger I felt towards my mother, like probably the entire life. Like I was angry. I was furious. I felt that there was no reason to let him go. We found him. Like, what do you mean? Like, you find him, why you look for somebody that you're just gonna let go? Like, I never understood that. And if it was up to me, I probably would have not let it go. But in retrospect, I guess it gave me freedom to live a different life.
In what way?
I feel like I'm a very peaceful person, for one. I feel like I definitely, like, I broke the mold that my family has always had in the way they view conflict and the way they view each other. And part of that was because I was so determined not to be anything like anybody after my father died. After he died, I was like, I'm okay. I choose option D. Like, I don't want anything to do with I felt like I didn't want to be defined by everybody anymore. I didn't want to be defined by his death. I didn't want to be defined by what everybody expected me to be. Everybody wanted me to be. I was just like, screw it. Like, excuse me. I really just, I didn't have at 16 years old, I did not have the capacity, the emotional capacity to deal with it. So I did it. And then when it got reintroduced to me at 21 years old, when they found him and they just let him go, I was just angry. And I stayed angry for a really long time. And I didn't know how to I just didn't know how to deal with, I didn't know how to fully process my own emotions. And I didn't even know that I was as angry as I was. So in a lot of what I did was just to numb the feeling of anything. It was just like numbing it out. Like you drink because you don't feel nothing. You smoke because you don't feel nothing. You do all these things because you don't feel anything.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of time for me to get over that and to back to feeling regular, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So how did that impact your relationship with your mother over the years?
Me and my mother already had a really, really, really complicated relationship. We already didn't get along. We already didn't speak. And after my father, and at around 21, my mother decided that she didn't want to be a mom no more, and she left. And I went back to live with with my dad to help raise my younger brother and sister. And she came back and she admitted that she had a mental break and things of that nature. And I really didn't blame her all the way, because I get it. She's had kids since she was a kid, and she never really got to turn off ever. And she just looked around one day and she was just like, I don't have anything of my own. She just didn't feel like she had anything. And it took for me to realize that everybody had their own individual, you know what I mean? Everybody's journey was individual. Just because she's my mother, she's no less hurt than I am. And there's no way to really articulate that as the adult sometimes. I get that now because looking at my goddaughters and looking at my nieces and nephews, I'll they'll ask me questions and I don't always know the answer, but I don't know how am I supposed to present this to you? How am I even supposed to make you make sense of this? I don't get it. I don't know what I would say. I am lucky to be the auntie that kids could be see, when your mother comes back, we're going to talk about this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine being in her position with all the loss that she experienced up until that age. And then she finally feeling oh, now I have adult kids. They could take care of themselves. I could possibly get a chance. And so it was a lot of forgiving going on, that I had to get over. Because I had to see myself for everything. I didn't even know I was hurting. Because I went so long just numbing things out and pretending that things didn't bother me that I was just used to that. I didn't Alexis knows. Alexis knew me then. That's what she met me. I just didn't care about anything. It wasn't much to care about, at least for me. And it just felt like caring just made it hard. It just felt like stress. So I just let everything go, and I lived so and granted, I still very much that I'm a free spirit in a lot of ways, but I realized that a lot of my behavior in my 20s in general was just based off of me trying to run from my own emotions and how sensitive I naturally really am. And now that I'm in my 30s, I'm way more reflective and I can way more understand that hurt my feelings, so that's why I'm acting this way. Or I could easily let somebody in my process of forgiving, I had to realize this stuff hurt me. And that was the biggest step for me. For the longest time I didn't even acknowledge my dad was dead. He was dead as hell. I didn't even know. I didn't even acknowledge it. I refused to. It was easier for me to stay mad.
Yeah. So, ladies, is it easier? Did y'all find? First of all, for me, I feel one of the things that you said, Yami, was very interesting. That you didn't even realize that you was angry, because anger is so connected to the issue of forgiveness that when you're wounded by one person or multiple people, that those triggers It could be something or someone or something said, that thing that sends you back. And for me, I realized that I never thought I was the person that struggled with forgiveness. I mean, struggled with anger connected to forgiveness, because I always felt like I was a very forgiving person. I didn't hold grudges. I always worked on saying, okay, I'm good. I don't hold grudges. But I realized even recently that I did hold on to a lot of unforgiveness to a multiple people. And I had to deal with that, because it really impacted every single relationship that I had, and and to this day, you know. So so I know that's really hard, because you were dealing with it on so many levels, from the loss of your father as a young girl to being just being harassed and misunderstood, and everything else that you felt from your own family, and then the struggle that you had with your mother, the support. And a lot of people go through that. Like, they don't have no real support, and they don't have anybody helping them to walk through. When trauma happens, you're like expected to, like, okay, move on. It happened. You can't change it. Now keep on going. But we don't. It's impossible, because that wound walks with us through life.
And not even that. It's just some people just don't have the tools to help somebody grieve.
Yeah.
So thinking about your mom, going through her own issues. You don't know what her childhood looked like. You may know. I don't know if you know or not, but
it was really hard for her.
Yeah,
it was really hard for her. So she, a healthy person, had a hard time dealing with loss and grief. So I can imagine how it was, or how ill-equipped she was to deal with children that dealt with a father that had lost, was murdered. She probably just did not have the tools to give you guys what you needed to help you through that process in a healthy way. And, like you said, you didn't have it. You were 16 years old. You didn't know how to process that information, process that experience. She probably didn't have the tools to do that either, to help you as, a mother should. So it was a very, very complex, very, very complicated.
On so many different levels, right?
So many different levels,
yeah. But I feel like I'm very grateful for the. I feel like, in a sense, the way that my family left me alone, in a way, it gave me grace to build my own personality. Like, because they always said that I was like the oddball. I was like the oddball then, back in the day, before anything happened, right? And I always had like this whole feeling that I was like, oh, I'm not like you guys. Like, I'm not as angry. I don't hold grudges. Like you said, you didn't really believe that you even had it. Like, you just knew that you didn't have no anger, no forgiveness issues. You just knew it, because of course you wouldn't. You're you know better than that, right? You know that you're not supposed to hold on to that. And I grew this level of, like, I don't know, pompousness, I guess you could say, to being like emotionally mature when I wasn't. Like, I thought that I was in some way, shape, or form like better, because I'm not the one crying all the time, and I'm not hurt in the normal way of thinking about hurt. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm living a semi-functional life, I guess, in my 20s. I mean, it was as functional as but it was like, it didn't process to me as I had a problem. Until I started realizing that I really don't, like, anytime there's something, I really did follow that same pattern. Like, every time that there was something stressful, I just ignore it. If there's somebody that stressed me out, like that really just wasn't, I could just cut you off. It's that simple. It doesn't take nothing. It really is that quick of an instinct of mine, to being like, I will shut that whole part of caring about you down to make sure that I could keep myself up. But that's not healthy either.
That's interesting, to be able to shut people down, shut people off. For you were 16 years old, that was dealing with that offense and that grief and that sorrow. So Tasha, can you talk about just like being a younger child, being a younger person? I mean, you was in your mid-teens having to deal with that. What happens when people have to deal with that as children, and then the guy that did that to your father, now you're in America, that we're disconnected from that, although you're still connected to your family. But what happens when you're still connected to in relationship with people that have really hurt you, and you can reach back really far from childhood. Tasha, can you kind of like, just share your journey with us in that?
In regards to my mom, well, mine was much younger.
Yeah.
My relationship with my mom was more on emotional, and to me, she was kind of physically abusive, which really started from when I was very young.
Mm-hmm.
And that went on for many, many, many years.
Mm.
And so with her, the one person. The one person that was there that gave me peace was my father.
Yeah.
Was my dad. And she pushed him away.
Mm.
He was my saneness. And she pushed him away to live a life that she wanted, which was, being in the streets, being with the wrong kind of men,
Mm-hmm.
Choosing a life over us.
Mm-hmm.
So mine started very, very young. Well, let me calm down.
That's okay.
And so I was into her for many of years.
Mm-hmm.
Many, many years. I just hated the way she treated her kids. I felt like she always put men above us. She would go off and leave for days, and I wouldn't even know where she was at. For a child to fend for themselves. And when my dad left, I felt like she took him away. And with her, she made me very combative.
Mm.
I was combative for many, many, many years. Very argumentative. I would even say physically. I mean, I have children. I was never physical towards my children because I made sure that what she did to me, I wouldn't do to kids. But in other relationships, like relationship with men or other people, I was very, very, very combative. I had an anger, and even as the years went on with her, she could say one thing that would set me off. Even if it was giving me advice on with my children, and I didn't like it because I felt like you can't give me no advice. I'm a good mother, Yeah. So some of the littlest things that she would say would send me off, and it would always take me back to the beginning with her. So I had a lot of anger in me over the years with her. And throughout my life, my father's, he stayed there with me. So he was that comforting for me. I can go to him for peace and have that saneness as a parent, for me. But then as you get older and you have kids and you start realizing it, and I learned her journey, I realized that her mother was abusive to her. And she was only as good as a mother that her mother was to her.
Wow.
And so, and my life went different from her. I went and I got a good job. I was able to provide, a safe home for me and my children. She didn't have those tools for her. So as growing up and becoming a mom and being a mom, and I do realize, even as good as a mother I was, I still made a lot of mistakes with my son. I won't say so much with my daughter, with my son, that I was able to forgive her as time went on. Because I knew that, she didn't have nobody to teach her how to be a mom. And despite all her flaws and all the things she did, I know that she loves me deeply.
Yeah. One of the things you said, Tasha, that's so profound is that her story is you were a continuation of her story. because she went through with her own mother. She didn't have the tools. She didn't have the skills to know how to be a mother. And you were the recipient of that brokenness.
Yes.
You know?
But, you know, I know that she loves me dearly. There would be nothing. I know that would be nothing that she wouldn't do. You know. So I mean, I have been able to forgive. I mean, I forgive her. You know? But talking about it now brings up.
Yeah.
I could definitely understand.
Are there still like triggers for you, like even as far as you've come with her, or as it has gotten a lot better?
Oh no, it's good. I mean, she may do something sometimes, but now I'm in a different place where I just like shut her down. You know, I don't get angry like before. I would get angry at her, and I would like go off on her. Like I was very disrespectful. I didn't have like that mother. I didn't have that. You know, so and I was angry with her I'm talking about for years. I mean, I'll be 52, and I'm talking about it really got me to a point maybe in my late 40s that I was able to really, just let it, just let it go. I'm not angry with her anymore because I understand she didn't have the capability to be the mom, that we needed. She didn't have the capability, and she's always been a good grandmother. She loves her grandkids. She loves me. It's nothing that she would not do for me if I needed her. She would do anything. And so over the years, I just learned with maturity as in myself too, to not, she's my mom. You only get one mother.
Yeah.
And I love her, I do. I love her.
Yeah.
Do you believe, I have a question. Do you believe that like in heaven, like you ever heard them say like when you're an angel in heaven, you pick your parents? That you pick your parents? My grandfather used to tell me that. No. And I used to always argue with him because I was like, there's no way. There's no way I would have picked this. And he was, but the way he made it logical to me. It was that it was like, but you wouldn't be who you are if you wouldn't have went through this journey.
Because I took a lot of good things about her in my life today. Keeping she had her flaws, but she always kept a good home. She always kept us clean. She always, things like that. A lot of good qualities I did take from her. And the ones that weren't so good, I just tried.
Yeah.
It made me, it made me very independent. It made me very strong. I've always been on, I was out on my own, young. I always provided. I had a good job. So the things that I went with her, I made sure that I would not do with my children. That I would not do it, in my life. So I took those things and I made it in a positive, But she had a lot of good qualities about her that I didn't see when I was younger.
Right.
That transpired over into my adult life. Yes.
That's good. That's really good. Hey, Lulu.
Hey.
We want to hear from you. Just like, what are you feeling right now? Like, what's in your mind right now?
I think mine is completely different from everybody because, as you know, I didn't grow up in America and I grew up in Africa. The way we grew up over there, children are responsible to take care of their parents. So my dad and my mom got divorced at the age of, I think, about like 8. And then my dad married to this woman who raised me.
Yeah.
For the rest of my life. I mean, like until the age of 17, I can say. And from the age 8, I was responsible for cooking. It's my responsibility to get up early in the morning. Nobody wakes me up. I have to get up. If I don't get up on time, I get beat up. So I have to wake up. And I have to, like, I don't know, you guys don't have any idea about Africa. You don't have a pipe water in the house. You have to get up and walk long way to bring a water. So I bring water and I roast coffee and I prepare breakfast. Like 6 o'clock in the morning, I have to get up at the age of 8 and feed everybody breakfast. And I don't even have time to comb my hair or to, well, in our culture, you have to feed your parents first before you eat. If there is some leftover, you'll eat. If there is no leftover, you have to go.
Wow.
So most of the time, like 90% of the time, I go to school with the empty stomach and always like I'm starving and I don't have. And then while I'm cooking for them, I'm late for school. When I'm late for school, you get beat up by your teacher. You know how they, yes.
Wow.
And then sometimes they'll make you like, because he knew I have a bad stepmother, but still he make me walk on my knee, like on the concrete. He make me walk on my knee in the concrete every day. I cry and I try to explain. Nobody listen. It's my responsibility to feed them. And then as soon as I come, we always have 1 hour break between the lunch break. In that 1 hour break, we have to go find a little wood, to cook our lunch. Within 1 hour, we feed them, and then if they have leftover, I'll still eat. If they don't, I'll just go to school with the empty stomach. Most of the time, my friends used to feed me. Especially, I have this friend. She used to bring a piece of bread, and in her purse, and then give me while I'm in the classroom, and and then I'm just eating the bread by itself, and I get choked. When I have a hiccup, the teacher like doesn't know. He just get me up and then beat me, with the ruler, the ruler, like the sharp ruler. So, I mean, my stepmother she was a mean woman, and she always keep the food until it gets like spoiled to feed me on purpose. But when I'm hungry, you don't have a choice. You eat that. But still, like as a young girl, I never ever thought, I never ever wish something bad for her. The only thing I pray to God was one day I'm going to grow up. God is going to put me in a better place. And I wanted to, just like, I want her to get, like, receive something from me, some gift from me. I wanted to teach her. So that was my wish for God. I don't want her to die before, I get like in this level. Okay. So when I was 14, I looked like I was very, very malnourished. And I was like 8 years old girl, when I was 14. But I still never stopped going to school. So then, I grew up and I got married. I mean, the rest of the stuff is there's so many stuff. Like sometimes she locked me outside in the dark. I almost got eaten by hyena one time. I remember. And there is always, but there is always a bad stuff. I always got eaten by hyena, and then always I got beat up. Always, she grabbed my hair and pull me, and some days maybe guys may not understand. When you do something like bad, she bring the charcoal, the charcoal. She put a pepper powder, like the jalapeno or something, and then she cover you, and you have to snip. Yes, that's how the punishment is. But that makes me more strong. Okay, it makes me more strong. I never took it like as a negative, like, oh, she did me this, my life is gonna be. But it always teach me, encourage me to get better and to be where I am right now. And then I fought to come to America with my children. When I came in this country, I came with only $500 in my purse. That's it. I didn't have anything, but I work hard. I was very appreciative. I still very appreciative, and I work hard. and I went back and supported her. Right now, she's living with the HIV. She's sick, and then her own children don't support her. So, since God did all this for me, this was my wish from the young age to support her. I just want her to receive money from me. And I don't want her to die before she see like I change, I can be a human, I can be like better. But God fulfilled my dream, and she's still alive. She's still watching me, and I'm in a better place, and I have 3 beautiful children. So, and when I went back home, even my family, everybody, they knew what happened to me. Nobody wanted to talk to her, but I went and hugged her, and I forgive her, and I supported her. And actually, I'm the one who support her. I bought her some furniture. She didn't have a bed. I bought her a bed, and she was crying. And I said, like, don't cry. That's how life is. See, you need to learn. You need to teach your children, not to be mean to other people. So God is good. Actually, it makes me very, very strong and very appreciative. Every day I wake up, I'm so thankful. I don't complain. And I never ever thought like people can eat and you get full, you have some leftover. I never thought in all my life. But now I still like don't take things for granted. I'm very appreciative, and right now I fully forgive her.
Yeah.
Because God is good to me, and then every day I'm blessed with my children, with my life right now. So yeah, it takes all day. If I talk about her, what happened to me, that's like from the age 8 until the age 17.
Wow.
Yes, every day, every day. Probably I may eat like a piece of bread just for a day, and that's it.
Wow.
Yes.
Now,
And then sometimes they don't have a electric light like this, and we have to hold a candle until they finish eating. And then when they finish eating, if all the food is finished, that's it. You don't get to eat. So yes, my life is completely different from you guys, and but actually I'm a very strong woman right now, and I believe in forgiveness because I have peace. I'm happy with my life.
yes.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's something. I did get a little taste of that, Mulu, when I went to Liberia in the wintertime. So I did get to see how people live in those indigenous isolated areas, and that had to be really, really tough. Hyenas, that's another level. That's totally another level. So let me ask you ladies a question. I know, Yami, that you don't have any children yet, but
I do.
how has had Mulu and Tasha, have you told your story to your journey with unforgiveness or forgiveness, or your mother or abuse? Have you shared that story with your children, and how do they respond if you have?
Yes.
Me?
Yeah, Tasha first. Tasha, have you shared that story?
Yeah, the children, they know. I talk to them about the relationship with me and their grandmother. That she was a totally different person.
Yeah.
Years ago. They love their grandmother, of course. They can never imagine.
Yeah.
But when I talk to them about just things in life general, having the lights turned off, like you said, sometimes, like I said, her disappearing, or, I explain to them in regards to some, because sometimes they can be unappreciative, and just, and try to just give them some insight on, I wasn't homeless in the street, but also I did dealt with some issues that I want them to appreciate, what they have.
Yeah.
And now my son probably know a little bit more, because when he was younger, there was times that he was around that things would blow up.
Yes.
So he knows. But even with that, he loves he doesn't see her in a different way because she's she's a great grandmother to both of them.
Yes.
He has experienced the combativeness and the blow ups between me and her. Now my daughter really not, because I'm older now, but with him he did. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. How about you, Olu? Is she still the same person? Has she ever, like, in your generosity and your compassion towards her when you went home, has she ever, said, I'm sorry? Has she done that?
Well, well, the rest of my family don't talk to her because I'm the only one who grew up with her.
Yeah.
And everybody's amazed when I go and hug her and talk to her. But she knew deep inside, she knew what she did.
Yeah.
I'm sure she didn't tell me, like, I'm so sorry, but she thinks like she raised me. That's how she knew how to raise a child, and then she didn't accept what she did for me. Actually, she was telling people one time for my sister that she raised me well. That's why I became the way I am right now. And then her and my sister had a argument. And I told my sister, just leave her alone, she's out of my life and I'm not worried about her anymore because she's not gonna be in my life anymore. But still, I think still there is a little bit damage in me. I believe I have sometimes a little low self-esteem because I cannot go tell whatever I want to people. I think Alexis, I don't say stuff because even if people try when they hurt me still, I cannot say things whatever I wanted to say because I think there is some effect from the childhood. But my children's know. But still, I don't want them to hate her. I don't want them, because right now she's in the bad shape. So right now she's the one who needed help. So I don't feel good to just not to forget. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Get back on what she said in regards to like apologizing. My mother has apologized.
Yeah.
Yes, she's apologized.
Yes.
Yes, and she knew that she wasn't a good mother. Yeah, she has apologized so many times, and when she does, I'll just tell her, "Ma, you don't have to keep apologizing because I don't, I'm not. I don't hold that against you anymore because I understand where she was at that time." But she has apologized. Yeah,
yeah.
She admitted that she knew she was not a good mother.
Yeah, yeah. So, Yami, your situation is unique in that is that really the person that really perpetuated the greatest harm towards you in terms of murdering your father. You can't go to that person.
Well, honestly, I wasn't even as mad. Okay. There were so many levels of my anger of who I was mad at, and it kind of switched from person to person because I didn't know who to blame. There wasn't like a person to blame.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, the biggest thing for me, I thought, for example, I never trusted my dad's best friend.
Yeah.
I never trusted him. I always had a feeling about him. It was just little things that he did. Like my papi would go buy himself some jewelry. The next day, he wants to go buy some jewelry. And I'm like, so now all of a sudden you want to buy jewelry just because he saw another grown man buy jewelry?
Competitiveness or something going
on.
Jealousy, some
hater. Like inside, he had hater tendencies. Like he would, like so much jealousy. Like he would just, he would say little things like here and there. I would catch him say stuff, and I'm like, why would you say that? That is another grown man. He is none of your business.
Yeah.
And I would say things like that to him, like as a kid, like mind you, like 12, 13. I'm over here saying stuff like that to him. And he was like, you should. And my father was very classical in the way that he thought about gender roles and things like that. That's one thing that me and my papi had a complicated relationship even when he passed, because I got a job. I got my first job at 15. He felt that a woman shouldn't have to work. He felt that that was the whole reason why he had beautiful daughters and made sure he had beautiful daughters is so that we would marry well.
Oh,
he said this. He was like, so you would marry well, marry a high society man, and you will never have to work a day in your life. And he was like, that was the point. He was like, what do you mean? What are you doing? He was like, you all of a sudden in the United States and you forgot where you're from or what we raised you to be. I was like, whoa. Sir, relax.
Wait a minute.
Exactly. And I was like, and it's like, in a sense, I forgive my mother in a lot of ways because I understand the type of adversity she had to face as a woman in the society we lived in Panama. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, her being this very opinionated, very a huge personality type of person, that's not always looked at in the highest regard, right? And I probably wouldn't have had the chance to be the type of person that I am if I wouldn't have moved to the United States, because I'm very much outspoken, very much free will, very independent. Like, my mom raised me like
very liberal.
Yeah, very liberal. Like, to be who I was. She might not have raised me to be this version of who I am, because she might have could have went without some things, but but like, she did raise me to be very, very strong. And like, she told me, like, for example, my mother did apologize.
Yeah.
But she apologized in such a way that it was very much her type of apology. It was like, I apologize for my approach of how I did things. It was like, I could have did it way better. I could have went about things way better.
Yeah.
But I meant every word I said.
Oh, wow.
Like, but I meant it. She was like, because she would say things to us like, she was like, you're always second place. You got to work twice as hard. You're always going to be second place because you're a woman. And then you're not from this country. You don't know this language. Like, she would beat that into my head until I remembered it. Like, that's why I got to work harder. Yeah. Like, I learned English really fast because I was like, I have to be able to translate for my mom. Like, something, you know what I mean? Like, and I grew a big work ethic because I would help my mom clean houses when we moved to the United States. Like, I was there in the midst of all the struggle of her making her way in this country. So a lot of what I felt that she did wrong was trying to make me, in her sense, trying to make me strong, because she felt that I was too soft. I was too sweet. I was too kind. She was like, you're kind to strangers. Like, who does that?
Yeah.
And I was like that ever since I was a kid. And she felt that women like me get thrown around. She was like, you'll be beaten up like a rag doll out here.
Yes.
She was like, and I refuse to let you be that.
Yeah.
So she was like, one way or another, I'm gonna teach you how to be strong. And I just was hard-headed. I was sweet. I was nice.
So how twisted is that, to think that somehow, neglect or abuse or mistreatment, it somehow makes us stronger. One of the things you said, that may have been a cultural perspective.
Yeah.
But one of the things you said, Mulu, that really jumped out at me was you're talking about your insecurities as a result of what you experienced. And I can attest to that, because for me, it's so many levels of forgiveness, like all of you ladies, that I've had to deal with in my lifetime and with different people. For me, what the most polarizing, not the most polarizing, but one of the most polarizing is a relationship that I was in as a teenager that was very, very, very abusive. And just being stabbed and just from one level to the next, it was so incredibly abusive. And just have it, what's so interesting is that I was able to forgive that person easier than I was able to forgive members of my family, because I felt that I felt so worthless as a young girl, and I felt so insignificant and so invisible, that I was made to feel like that as a child, that they were the reason why I would even endure that. I would even put myself in a position where I felt so worthless that I would allow this man to do this to me. And so it was easier for me to, maybe because I was able to walk away from that relationship and I could dismiss him out of my life, and I still had to deal with the family members that made me feel insignificant and less than. But that journey took years and years and years and years for me to even come to a place that I even felt good about myself. I'm talking about, I'm 56 years old. And I'm talking about into my 50s. I mean, and how it was reinforced in so many levels by so many different people that are very personally connected to me. And so that was harder for me, although this guy inflicted more physical pain in my life. The emotional state that I was in, that I even felt so worthless that could happen. Like, how could that happen? And nobody is there to rescue me, and nobody was there to see what I was going through, you know. And so that was a really, really, really big journey for me, and one, to be honest with you, that I still walk through. But I have to remind myself who I am and I have value. Because there are even days when I'm in relationship with people that like talking about those triggers, that they may say something, or they may treat me in such a way that they try to make me, in my eyes, feel devalued or feel like I have no sense of personhood. And I have had to train myself to believe that I have value, because I was never able to rely upon anybody to make me feel like I had any sense of worth. And even the people that I had around me that was such great reinforcements. I'm talking about friends and my children, that it was still so hard for me to walk through, just trying, not even to rebuild, just trying to build character and build worth inside of me. So, like I shared with you ladies earlier, that I am a pastor. And so that journey with God, even early on, even though I knew how he felt about me, I still didn't believe it for myself, because it had been so instilled in my DNA that I had no value. And so I walked with it, like I said, through my relationship with my family members, relationships in my relationship in my marriage. And so I knew that I was the one that was going to have to define who I was. I had to define my criteria for forgiveness, and I knew that I had to forgive. I knew that I had to let it go. But even today, it's still a constant journey for me. Do you ladies find that, like, every day that you still have to remind yourself who you are, remind yourself that you have great value, and decide, that you're going to forgive? Because we are still in relationship with some of the people that we had to forgive. What would you say to that in closing?
I definitely agree. That's why I was saying I have a love-hate relationship with forgiveness, because I'm not going to lie. Like, I still, till this day, I have moments where I'm like, I'll have like a whole fit just off like, man, my life could have been so much easier if my baby was still alive. Like, or I'll say something like, if my mom wouldn't have been such of an obstacle, such an adversary for me my whole childhood, how much further along I might have been.
Adversary, that's powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I literally wrote my mom into all my stories, and she was always the bad guy.
Wow.
Like, to the point that, like, I became a writer just because I had nobody to talk to. Like, I had no friends. I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't have a lot of family, like, because all my family's in a whole nother country.
Yeah.
So I just wrote things down, and I just started creating these fictional characters that made sense of the life that I was living.
Yeah.
Because the life that I was living is not what's on TV. This can't be what other people experience. This can't be what really happens. So it's kind of like, every now and then I'll think to myself, like I asked my parents for some help for something like a couple of months ago. And instead of saying no, they just didn't answer my calls no more. Like, they just stopped answering my calls for all month. They didn't answer the call, right? And I was like, and I just text both of them. I was like, all you have to do is say I don't have it, or no. You don't have to ignore me. Like, I am not a bill collector. But then I think about it to myself, and I'm like, these are equally damaged people that have not even dealt with the fact that they are damaged. I was like, I am at a very particular and grateful place in my life where I can recognize my wounds, and I can see it for what it is. I can see it. Like, I'm like, all right, I used to drink. I used to outdrink everybody for what? Nobody even does that. That's not even fun.
I did that. I did that. That was me years ago. I did that.
I did that all the time. And, like, Lisa, you see me at like really low points in my life where I was just like numbing everything out. And it took me a long time to even deal with that. Like, I'm stronger than that. Of course, I'm not carrying some shit from my childhood. I don't care about that. Like, I had to deal with that. And I feel like every now and then I have spouts where I'm triggered.
Me too.
Into these moments of like
Yeah.
rage, I guess, in some sense, because of the fact that but that's ego. I always recognize that as ego. Like there's something that I'm missing, or there's something that somebody owed me. I don't quite get like this level of affection that I should have had. Or like when I get into it with my boyfriend sometimes, and he'll say like, "Dang, why can't you talk softer? Why like most girls can talk soft?" And I'm like, I'm not most girls. I've been raised like that. Like I've never been the super sweet. Like I'm affectionate.
Yeah.
But I do talk very rough. I am very assertive. I'm very bold in the way I speak, but I was never taught how to be any nicer.
Yeah.
I think
I thought the opposite, that you were too nice.
Yeah.
Anger is like it's a learned. I think for me, anger was a learned behavior.
Yeah.
From being young.
Yeah.
So, although I'm not as explosive and angry as I used to, there are some times where it resurfaces, and I don't like, and I talked to that about with my husband about that. I don't like that part about me.
Yeah.
I pray about it, like, and it could be something that may not even be that serious, but like you say, why you have that level of anger?
Yeah.
And I have to stop and ask myself, like, why I get so angry, But I think that's a learned behavior over the years of, of not being able to be taught any different.
Yeah.
And so it's not nowhere near like it was, but every now and then that little fire comes out. Little rage, and then you gotta, I have to go and pray about it. And I've always prayed for God to take that part out of me.
Do you want that to be completely out of you though? Because I feel like me finding that rage was me starting to heal.
That's interesting.
Like me finally starting to allow myself to be upset was like the beginning of me healing. Because for how Alexis will attest to this, she was like, "Does that bother you, Yami?" I would be like, "No, I'm cool." Are you sure?
Fine.
That sounds like it bothers you, Yami. I'm like, "No, I'm good."
And when it started coming out, you could identify, man, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Like something's happening that I need to figure this out.
And
so
for
I
me,
see why you said that, for sure.
For me, it was a lot of like, I used to take so much crap from everybody. I used to let people talk to me any kind of way.
No, that would trigger me. Now that would
that's my trigger line.
That's my trigger. Like, that's going.
And then one day, something clicked in me, and I was like, "Who the you talking to?" Like, it became that, and that is the attitude that started developing. And it took me to realize that that's where it came from. Like, you're just hurt. That's why that's offensive to you. That's why you have to defend everything.
So that anger, that rage that you're talking about was the identifying factor for you. You're just like, wait, this is totally not my normal behavior. Something's going on. And that kind of sparked your thinking of like, I haven't dealt with some things. Like,
and it was over years of denial.
All right.
So, ladies, this has been amazing. This is we coming to the end of this of our episode. You ladies have been phenomenal, and you've given us, a lot of stuff to think about. And I know that there's going to be a lot of women that's going to look at this episode and they're going to be like, you know what? She gets it. She gets me. She's telling my story. And I'm glad somebody is telling the story. And so I just want to personally thank you, ladies, for entrusting your heart to us, telling us your story, because you know what? I believe that those wounds that were inflicted on us were not just for us. It was for someone else. And we could reach back and we can show someone else that it's possible to walk in forgiveness and to move forward, that we don't have to stay stuck in our pain. Right?
Right. And also,
me, I'm just like right now, I'm happy every day. I'm very appreciative. And I become a very strong woman. I have 3 beautiful children and my children are successful. So I always focus on my blessing. Because if you keep focusing on the negative parts, that's when just like, you're going to go back to that anger. So I just try to focus every day, like, even the air that I'm breathing, So
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And we'll end with Mulu's great advice that we're just going to decide that we're gonna be victorious and that we're gonna walk in forgiveness and we're gonna thrive as women, and we're not gonna let our past hold us back, and we're not gonna let those wounds stop us. Okay. And so thank you, ladies, so much for joining us here on Sister Talks. We love you dearly, and we look forward to even having you on another episode soon. Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Sister Talks.
We cannot begin to express the gratitude and appreciation for all of your love and all of your support that you've given us so far.
If you've enjoyed this program, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page. And if you feel so inclined, you can go ahead and support this show by clicking on the link below and giving any gift that you decide.
You can also follow us on Instagram and also on Facebook, Sister Talks, and also hashtag Sisters Let's Talk for anything that is linked to us.
Like it and share it to all your friends, ladies. We love you and thank you, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.